Why Dakota is determined to leave Jamie Dornan. Heartbreak. Real reason revealed. Dakota Johnson remembers the first time she met Jamie Dornan when they were cast in a groundbreaking film. She was young, full of ambition, believing that art could change people, that it could make them find themselves. Jamie, with his senior's experience and enthusiasm, seemed like the perfect partner, strong, with ideas, with a desire to create something big. They talked about the character, about the script, about the bold shots. Dakota was fascinated by the way Jamie looked at the scene, the way he analyzed the character, the way he set high standards. She thought, if I work with him, I could learn a lot. There were days during the first shoot that Dakota felt Jamie was really supportive. When the camera wasn't rolling, he stood by her side to block out the harsh lighting. When she felt uncomfortable with a line, he whispered to the director to correct it. When the intimate scenes made her nervous, he stirred the warm water, brought out a thin blanket, made sure she felt safe. Then the film was released, the attention, the reviews, the interviews, the media attention multiplied. Dakota was happy, but she also began to feel the price of fame. Every flash, every comment, every wrong photo, every distorted story. That's it. The conflicts gradually appeared. Dakota began to see things that were wrong, not too big at first, but enough to make her feel unsteady. The pressure of creativity. Script changes. The film they were starring in had a script written from a famous book. The author of the book had control over many details, repeatedly asking for changes to scenes, dialogue, even the inner parts of the character, thoughts, monologues, that Dakota had thought would not translate well to the screen. She listened to the new director's instructions. After the first director left the project, measured the lighting, changed the camera angles. In short, everything seemed to be in constant rotation. We did the scene the way she wanted, we did the scene the way we wanted. Dakota was tired of feeling like she was being split into two, the actress who wanted to portray the character truthfully, the one who was being forced to please the audience or the producer. Lack of listening empathy. Jamie, for a while, was too focused on perfecting the scene, on meeting the producer's expectations, so that the film wouldn't be criticized, so that her performance would be praised. But Dakota felt that she was often ignored. When she suggested changing a little bit of dialogue to make it sound more real, to make the emotion a little more uncertain, when she said that the scene made her uncomfortable and was told, if you keep doing it like this, it will be difficult to continue, or, just act, we'll fix it in post-production. In these moments, Dakota feels valued not as a person, but as a tool to create a product. Jamie sometimes doesn't see or recognize her fatigue, her anxiety. He thinks she understands because he's under pressure too. She thinks, why should I do it alone? Differences in values and natural limits. Dakota has limits on how she can tolerate intimate contact, how she can perform in hot scenes, how she can be nude or close to the body. She wants them done in a way that the director understands, that there is respect, that there is clear consent, that there is time to prepare mentally. There are scenes where she thinks, if I do this, I lose my identity, not just the comfort, but the sense that she is the one making the decisions and not being pushed into someone else's role. Jamie believes that art requires sacrifice, but for Dakota, sacrifice has its limits. She doesn't want to be sacrificed all the time just to serve the views of outsiders and the expectations of the media. The last straw. One night, after an extremely grueling shoot, intimate scenes in dim lighting, retakes because the director wasn't satisfied, the camera was shaky, the props were malfunctioning, the lighting was too harsh, Dakota, back in her hotel room, burst into tears. Not because the scene was bad, but because of the stress that had built up. She felt like she had no choice, her safety and emotions were being pushed to the back burner. Jamie called her after the shoot, asking if she was okay. Dakota replied, I don't want to continue like this. Jamie was a little startled, and asked, what kind of way? She said, like being emotionally disrespected, like being forced into a mold, like being pushed onto a stage where everything around me was the lights, the camera, the audience, not Dakota the person. Jamie's first reaction was to try to explain, "You're doing it for the art, for the audience, for the film." But Dakota realized that explanation, though fair, didn't address what she was feeling deep inside. She no longer felt safe on set, when she had to do a scene because the script demanded it, when her emotions were dismissed as a sideshow. Determined to move away, from then on, Dakota began to seriously consider moving away, not just temporarily, but permanently, from Jamie Dornan in her work and life together, which, in this story, is somewhat personal. The decision, self-protection. Dakota realized that continuing to work in an environment where her emotions were disregarded would affect her mental health, her acting ability, her safety. She feared that she would become numb, lose her sensitivity, become fixated on the image of the self-sacrificing actress, lose her individuality. The value of autonomy. Dakota wanted to be the one to decide for herself. She wanted to choose roles in the way she felt right, wanted to have a say in how she was filmed, wanted the cameraman, director, producer to understand her, and if they didn't understand, then at least she had to leave and not continue to be forgotten in the darkness of the scenes, of others. Different career vision. Dakota began to see that she wanted to do projects not just to be famous but to have depth, to challenge herself in the way she chose. She wanted small roles, outstanding supporting roles, wanted to participate in independent films, wanted to create valuable products, to be made according to her own artistic direction, not just blockbusters, hot scenes, framing. Needed a private space to heal. She realized that she needed time, needed distance to heal the wounds caused by too much pressure, too many demands without being recognized. She wanted to relive the days when she acted for passion, not for media responsibility, not for image. Real revelation. One day, in a private interview, she told a journalist she trusted, Dakota decided to reveal what she had kept hidden. "Many people think I left because Jamie was not good, or because we had a love affair, a betrayal, or some kind of argument. In fact, that was not the case. Jamie was a talented actor, someone who had been with me through difficult scenes. He was very passionate, but I couldn't continue when my emotions were lost due to the production process, overshadowed by other people's expectations." In her revelation, she clearly stated, there was a sexy nude scene that she was not mentally prepared for. When she arrived at the set, the props were not ready, the lighting was not guaranteed, she felt unsafe. She wanted to move the scene, wanted to have a private meeting to discuss it in detail, but everyone said, "It can't be postponed now, let's act, we'll fix it in post-production." She did it, but the feeling of being forced weighed heavily on her. Jamie and she had an argument once. Jamie wanted the scene to be repeated 10 times to give her eyes beautiful suffering, but she felt like she was acting suffering because of the filming schedule, because of the camera's gaze, because of the pressure of taking press photos, not because of the character's true feelings. She said she wanted to rest, to prepare. He said, "No, the filming schedule is late, we have to finish." There, she felt her voice was not valued. Outside the film, the pressure from the media about how she dressed, her image in hot scenes, how she answered interviews, everything from compliments to criticism, she felt scrutinized, fragmented. She wanted to regain her whole self, the person outside the image, not a character constructed for public attention. Taking drastic action, Dakota began to change. She asked for veto rights for scenes that made her uncomfortable, or at least asked to discuss them beforehand. When the producer didn't agree, she withdrew from the project. She didn't want everything to be done for hype. When she was offered a blockbuster just because it was hot, just because it had a lot of sex scenes, she thought long and hard, signed a contract with very detailed terms about privacy, about the director, about mental preparation. She limited her appearances in interviews and events where she was forced to be exposed, where she felt she had to maintain her image, to protect herself. She wanted people to see her work, not just her scandalous images or sex scenes. More importantly, she began to spend time for herself, for people she trusted, close friends, family, find small independent roles that help her learn, help her feel like she is acting for passion, not for fame or for outsiders to see. Results and feelings of finding again. Dakota moved away from Jamie Dornan in the sense that, no more joint projects, no more public appearances together in scenes that attract media attention. He still worked, she still worked, but each in their own direction. She felt lighter, nights when she slept without thinking about cameras, promotions, sidewalks, harsh comments. She began to look back at her acting with more confidence, not because of the praise, but because she understood that she had chosen the right job. Jamie, in this story, also recognized the change. At first he was disappointed, sometimes confused because he lost a partner, but then he understood, every artist has the right to keep boundaries, the right to protect their emotions. He respected her, even though he regretted it.